Besides Afghanistan, today Kashmir is the biggest worry of the South Asian region. An ongoing dispute between the two South Asian rivals, India and Pakistan, is a nuclear flashpoint and can anytime turn into a full-blown war.
Kashmir conflict has roots in the partition of the subcontinent. Around 550 princely states, as you know, were given a right to exercise their option. All of them exercised their option, but Jammu and Kashmir was the only state which was denied this right. So it started from there.
The tension dates back to the division of subcontinent in 1947. The partition of the subcontinent led to division along religious lines, and this gave birth to Hindu-majority India and Muslim Pakistan. Many princely states around the subcontinent decided their merger with one of the two, depending on factors like religion, geographic location, and language. But of these princely states, Kashmir became a bone of contention between India and Pakistan. Because of its location, Kashmir could not join either India or Pakistan. Hindu Maharaja of Kashmir, Hari Singh, could not decide the future of Muslim-majority Kashmir, thus remained neutral. The Hindu rulers sought military assistance from India to fight tribesmen who had infiltrated Kashmir. He then acceded to India to get military assistance. At that time, Government of India promised to conduct a referendum to determine the future status of Kashmir, but the vote was never held, and that led to the first war between India and Pakistan.
Well, it is a long story, a story of fraud, deceit, and cheating. We believe, most of the Kashmiris, that accession never took place. Especially, it did not took place on 26th October 1947 as claimed by Government of India.
India referred the dispute to the United Nations on 1st January 1948. In a resolution dated August 13, 1948, the United Nations asked both the countries to withdraw its forces from the frontiers, and a free and fair plebiscite will be held to allow the Kashmiri people to decide their future. 65 years later, no such plebiscite happened.
Promise of accession, this plebiscite, it is in the instrument of accession. If we accept its legality for the sake of arguments, it is a condition in the instrument of accession that after restoration of normal conditions, a reference shall be made to the people. We witnessed some periods of normalcy, but the promise was not fulfilled. I'm not talking about UN resolutions. I'm talking about the condition laid down by the instrument of accession itself. And in legal parlance, we call it is a voidable agreement. Even if we accept its legality. Voidable means that it gives an option to the parties to pull out, to set aside. Since India has failed to fulfill the most important condition to the document, we have an option to set it aside.
The two countries fought 2.5 wars over the territory, both claiming the region in full but rule it in separate parts. 65% of the territory is under Indian control, and the remainder with Pakistan and China. Trapped into the fighting between the two countries, uncertainty led people to take up to arms against Indian rule. 1989 marks the beginning of rising resentment against Indian rule in Kashmir. Pro-independence and pro-Pakistan guerrillas struck in the Indian Kashmir Valley, while Indian and Pakistani troops regularly exchanged fire at the border.
After 1989, the people of Kashmir, right from 47, they strived through peaceful means. But in 87, they realized that it has not worked. So they resorted to guns. And it worked. International community focused its attention. The government of India also came forward. At times they promised Sikai. Sikai is the limit. And they expressed readiness for talks. So it made a difference. 1989, it is a crucial phase in our history. We conveyed a message that we cannot be taken for granted for long, and we are in a position to fight, to seek our rights.
India blames Pakistan for instigating and supporting Kashmir's armed struggle. However, Pakistan maintains that those involved were freedom fighters from Kashmir and that it was giving only moral support. Despite the promises made by the US President Barack Obama to facilitate talks between India and Pakistan to resolve Kashmir issue, the apparent efforts to mediate, the US seems to have withdrawn its support in what India still claims to be a bilateral issue. But what made the US to withdraw support?
The reason is that international community has also actually, in a sense, lost its interest in Kashmir, especially after 9/11. Unfortunately, the Kashmir's genuine and just struggle for political rights has been, unfortunately, been connected with the so-called international terror network, which is not a fact. So after 9/11, I think the international community actually, uh, started looking at Kashmir through that prism, and that's why they have not been showing any interest.
Although a ceasefire agreement was signed by two countries in 2003, the fragile peace process was hit hard in 2008 when India's financial capital Mumbai was attacked by Pakistan-backed armed groups, resulting into killings of over 150 people. And the trust deficit has grown into animosity. 23 years of bloody unrest in Kashmir led to gravest of human rights violations, mostly at the hands of Indian security forces. Killings, abductions, enforced disappearances, torture, rapes and molestations became a day-to-day occurrence in the region. Although Indian authorities blamed pro-independence fighters for rights violations, rights groups accuse Indian forces controlling Kashmir for maximum violations of human rights in the region. However, New Delhi denies accusations, saying it investigates cases and punishes the guilty.
There's no pressure is building up on the government of India, because government of India believes that it can, do anything in Kashmir and get away with it, because there's no accountability, and they don't want to be accountable. There's no sense of accountability in Kashmir, and you know that Armed Forces Special Powers Act is here, and that gives unbridled powers to the security forces. They know that whatever they do, they will get out of it. They will be shielded. They will go scot-free. Nobody is going to take on them. So I think that sense of unaccountability has crept in the minds of the people to a very large extent, and that's why we are seeing the repeating incidents of human rights violations and killing the civilians.
Official estimates say 50,000 people, mostly civilians, lost their lives. However, rights groups put the number twice that of official. More than 6 decades have passed and the issue continues to be pending, and the fear of full-scale war with nuclear capabilities adding a deadly dimension continues to haunt millions of people living in Kashmir. Shahan Abad reporting for Real News Network in Indian-controlled Kashmir.